am I going to make you happy if you don't tell me? How am I going to know how not to upset you if you don't tell me? Here's a basic kind of human truth. We judge each other and ourselves. Well, let's not lump this together. Let's just say this one. We judge ourselves by our intentions. Other people judge us by our behavior. I step on your toe. What are you saying? Ow, why'd you do that? You hurt me. I'm saying, well, gosh, I didn't mean to. And so a lot of times we have intentions, but we behave in a certain way, and we're not really intending to bother somebody, hurt somebody, not do something we're supposed to do, whatever. But we've never really talked about that, have we? Between us. Well, I thought you'd be here by now. Well, I didn't know that you wanted me here by now. So now I didn't know I was late. I didn't know the expectation. Or how could you do that to me? Well, do what? I was just telling a friend about, yeah, but that really violated my trust. Well, I didn't really know that was not something you wanted me to share. I mean, the examples are infinite. And I don't know what the number is, but it is a big number of conflicts that in reality, there's really no right person. There was no law broken. There was no crime committed. But somebody's expectation was violated. And to them, there was a big crime. You should have known. Well, okay, how? Now, there are some things that you should have known. Lying, cheating, stealing, assault, all those kinds of issues. Yeah, we should have known. God wrote them down. Read the book. It's not okay. Being judgmental and harsh and controlling and, all that kind of stuff. God and the Beverly Hillbillies both would agree. Yeah, that's a problem. You shouldn't have done that. But you know what? Most conflicts probably, well, I wouldn't say that, but a lot of conflicts in the day-to-day warp and woof of, people offend each other. And a lot of times it was unspoken expectations. So here's the deal. When we are bugged with somebody and we bring it up and we talk about it, that's a really good thing. But how are you going to hold somebody accountable to something if the expectation was never voiced? See, I can't just walk up to you and say, well, you should have been here at 4 o'clock. What are you talking about? See, if we haven't had a mutually agreed upon expectation, it's really hard to hold somebody accountable for violating something that they didn't know we were depending on. Well, you should know. And how many times have I heard couples say, I shouldn't have to tell him, or I shouldn't have to tell her. If he loved me, or if she loved me, she would ... I shouldn't have to. It's no good if I have to ask. Well, certainly it feels good when somebody's sitting around thinking about our needs all the time. But by and large, that's not what humans do. And that is what good people do in splices and on occasion and for various reasons. Look ahead and anticipate needs. All of that's part of a loving relationship. But there's only one relationship in life where you don't really have to let your expectations be known. And that's not even true. I was going to say, it's like, when do you kind of have the right for somebody to read your mind? Well, when you're an infant. But then that's not really true. If you're hungry, you cry. So you did let your need be made known. Now, what's the other side of this? Oh my gosh, we want to always be looking for, anticipating, thinking about, giving to each other's needs. Really, really important. I mean, I know if I'm going to be a good husband or a good father, then, or even a good dog owner. I mean, yeah, I've been thinking of it, sitting around going, Finley probably needs a walk today. She's been cooped up in the house, and I'm going to, and anticipating that and making time for it, or whatever your spouse needs or your kids need or whatever. That's really, really important. But at the same time, we have to take responsibility for our desires and our needs and our wants, and we have to communicate them. So that's just a little thing to think about, is how many times we have unmet longings that if we put them into words, we might have a greater chance of getting them met. And when we don't, a better chance of not kind of like indicting someone for violating an expectation that we never made known. So I like the term mutually agreed upon expectations. Once we both agreed upon, yeah, I'll do that for you. Then if I don't, now we got something to talk about. The healthiest people are the ones that are active about expressing their wants and needs. They proactively talk about that in their relationships. And sometimes some of the most kind of sort of, it leads to a lot of depression and a lot of hurt. That is when we're passive and not speaking up. And sometimes you might have grown up in a situation where it was impossible to, and you didn't learn that skill. And that's horrible. But now it is time to begin, to be able to assert yourself. It's the old psychological word from the 60s or 70s. We started doing assertiveness training, which means to make your needs known, speak up. Don't let that happen if you don't want it to. Tell people what you want and all of that. Pretty good practice. Pretty good practice. One of the things that is cool about God, we really don't have to wonder what he's expecting of us, right? He kind of says the same stuff over and over and over and over. One of my favorite verses, Micah chapter 6, verse 8. This is my life verse, actually. It says this: "It has been shown to you, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires from you: to love mercy, to do justice, and to walk humbly with your God." Oh my gosh, how clear is that? Be nice, people, play fair, and remember, you're not in charge. Wow. Think of everybody you were in a relationship with was nice and loving and kind and merciful and gracious and giving and sacrificial. And they were just, they were fair. When they made a mistake, they confessed and said, "Oh, I'm sorry." When you make a mistake, they let you know in a just way and not an unjust way. They don't return evil for evil, but they address the conflict. And they stand up for justice with other people. And then they don't think they rule the earth, and they don't play God and judge you. And then they don't, act like you live in their narcissistic orbit and everything revolves around them and only their needs matter because they're godlike and they know it all. That's not what he said. He said, walk humbly with your God. which means if we're walking with God, we're not God and we're underneath him. And so we bow the knee to what he tells us to do. Pretty good deal. Yeah. Well, God lets his expectations be known. And when we do that, we do much better. So that's your thing for me, my little thought of the day to think about. And maybe we want to talk about that. Maybe you want to talk about that. Maybe you want to sit down with somebody significant in your life and say, how do you think we do on our expectations for each other? Are there some things that you're kind of expecting from me that I'm not delivering? Maybe I don't know about it. Maybe we never talked about it. Am I getting bugged at you sometimes? You think where you really don't know why, and I don't know what I did, and let's just talk about what are our expectations in various areas and get them clear. Wow, wouldn't that be cool?